keeping the focus on North Carolina. We're very fortunate to have this Piedmont Airlines DC-3 aircraft, which is presently inside the back shop, and we're going to begin renovating that soon. How many here have ever ridden on a DC-3 aircraft? Great, okay, about half of you at least. That came along in the mid-1930s, and it was a tremendous technological advance for aviation. Why? Because it was the first aircraft that allowed commercial airlines to fly nonstop between New York and Chicago both ways without having to stop. The previous airlines could fly one way if the wind was with them, but they had to stop in Cleveland coming back if the wind wasn't with them. But the DC-3 in most configurations seated 21 passengers, so it wasn't a huge aircraft. It wasn't a terribly heavy aircraft, but it took advantage of the technology of aluminum, which is a very strong kind of steel, but not a heavy steel. Now, this is the only building on our site that wasn't original to the site, but it serves as our visitor center. It was a little turn-of-the-century railroad station near Salisbury and works very nicely as a visitor center. And this, of course, is our main attraction, our on-site train. And by the way, we're also running annual railroad excursions from our museum to Charlottesville, Virginia. And just this past Sunday, we had our first railroad excursion from our museum to Asheville. Very exciting trip for us because it had been more than a decade since we'd been able to come to Asheville. And I want y'all to know we brought 900 passengers up here, parked down in the railroad yards there, and bused people over to Biltmore Village, and everybody had a great time. And I understand that the train was shown on television and also a picture in the Asheville Civitan. Did any of you see those items? So we hope to come back to Asheville every year. Now, of course, at the Roundhouse we have the turntable, which really we operate just like Southern Railway did. We take trains apart, put them back together, put a rail car on there, you turn that around to the track you want it to go on, and we also ride visitors, and that's very popular also, especially with kids, little kids and big kids. And we have all kinds of special events. We've got, of course, the Christmas train coming up, and this is our biggest event of the year, Thomas, A Day Out with Thomas. It's a little train that actually has a home up in Pennsylvania. It comes down to see us on a flatbed truck, but don't tell any of the kids that. It's got a little smiley face there, and on the right there is his buddy, Sir Toppinhat. And this is a little story that actually started with a minister in England back in the 1940s who loved trains, and he made up these little stories for his grandchildren. And he called the train Thomas, and he had all these different characters and friends that Thomas had. And that became a TV show in England and then in this country. And then this whole movement about taking Thomas around started. This is an annual aviation show that we have in May. And we have several automobile shows. We also have an annual truck show. And we're all about educational programs. We do research, and we have exhibits, and sell books, and give talks all about transportation history, what it's meant to our communities. An annual Boy Scout weekend was always sold out, where the Boy Scouts come and camp out and work on their Railroad Merit Badge. And Tuck, I wanted you in particular, my friend Tuck over here, who grew up in Salisbury, told me I didn't tell him this, but he told me he's a judge in the annual Spencer to Salisbury parade. And he's been doing that for 50 years. And this car, Chuck, on the upper right-hand corner, that's a 1935 State Highway Patrol car. It's in all the governor's inaugural parades. And sometimes we have that in our Christmas show. So I just wanted to put in a word to Tuck that when he's judging that Christmas parade here in about a month, to look for some kind of vehicle from our museum. And we hope he'll give us a good grade. We also, if you know Tuck, be sure and put a word in for us. Mr. President, you didn't mind if I made a little pitch for my museum, did you? Now, how do we keep railroad cars in good running order? And what do we do when we get an old railroad car that looks like it's ready for the junk heap and we want to turn it into an attractive rail car? Well, we go to one of our 100 railroad volunteers and we train those volunteers. And every Saturday we have a number of them coming. We have a very nice facility in our roundhouse where the volunteers work. And here you have various scenes here from our museum. We're beginning to diversify more and more. You see there in the lower right-hand corner, we've got a Railway Express truck now, which is sort of the FedEx of its day. It met trains and took packages out to folks, just like FedEx and Express companies do today. And that's a 1939 model, Railroad Express. And then the school bus behind it was actually manufactured by Thomas Built Bus Company in High Point. That's a 1940 model school bus, and they renovated it and gave that to us. So we're delighted to have these two vehicles also. And this is our gift station. Beautiful gift station where we sell all kinds of things. And we have this photograph showing a luncheon event. Actually is at our roundhouse. We started having wedding receptions there and special events. And sometimes people just want something different from a hotel and like the idea of socializing and having a nice time amidst the large railroad cars. And we've also had one wedding on a train, and this is what this other photo shows. That fellow on the left there is not actually the groom. He's one of our railroad volunteers, but he's taking care of the bride there. And we have kids love cabooses. We have several renovated cabooses. We have a new one that's going to be dedicated in December. And on Saturdays we offer a birthday caboose for a reasonable price where kids can come and bring their party, cake, whatever, have their birthday party there in the caboose. And then we put the caboose on our train that day and they get to ride around the site on the train as well as have their birthday party. So it's gotten so popular that we started with one and now we have two birthday cabooses. The movie Leatherheads was filmed partly on our site for 3 days, starring George Clooney and Renee Zellweger. And Universal Studios had staff on our museum site for several months prior to the shooting. They used one of our locomotives and they had used two of our coaches. So if you saw the movie, all the shots that were made inside a rail car were taken from one of our rail cars. Now, in conclusion, here's an aerial view of our site. You see the roundhouse there, shaped like a C, that opened in the mid-1920s. And then that huge building just above it there, long building, is the back shop. Again, a 100-year-old building plus, which is our future exhibit hall to show all transportation modes from North Carolina. And then in the very upper part of the picture is where we have a parking lot. and our visitors area. So that really concludes our show, and I'll be happy to answer any questions or talk about Asheville Railroad history, whatever you like. Any questions?